hear me? All right, we are at time, and we do have a quorum, so I will call this meeting of the Madison Plan Commission for Monday, April 27th, 2026 to order. We'll start with a roll call. Planner Furco. Wait, is that right?
Yep. Thank you. You got it. Furco. Yep.
Almost had it. All right, that's right. If you would do the roll call, that would be great.
Thank you, Chair. Alderfield.
Here.
Alderfield is present. Alder Yannette Figueroa Cole.
Here.
Figueroa Cole is present. Alder Uguer.
Here.
Alder Uguer is present. Commissioner Solheim.
Here.
Commissioner Solheim is present. Commissioner Heck.
Here.
Commissioner Heck is present. Commissioner Sanders.
Here.
Commissioner Sanders is present. Commissioner Wisniewski.
Isn't?
No. Commissioner Wisniewski is present. School Representative Chihak.
Here.
All right. And Chair Ganam.
Here. Thanks. Welcome, Alder Figueroa Cole. To your first meeting.
I'm sorry. And Commissioner Basine.
Oh, Commissioner Basine.
Yes. I'm sorry.
Oh, I might have jumped in soon. Sorry about that.
Nope.
All right. Very good. I think Commissioner McCahill is excused, and so alternate Wisniewski will be voting tonight. So very good. We will start with technical information from our technical facilitator, Jesse Poole.
All right, welcome to our virtual Plan Commission meeting. If you lose connection at any point during the meeting, you can reconnect by clicking the link or calling the number in your original email. Members, if you are able, please activate your video and keep it on for the duration of the meeting. Staff, if you are able, please activate your video when you are speaking. Panelists, use the raise hand feature when you'd like to be recognized to speak, ask questions, or request a roll call vote. Lowering your hand will take you out of the queue. Members of the public who have registered to speak. To be allowed to speak, the name you entered in Zoom must match the name you entered in registration. You will remain muted until called upon. The clerk will tell you when your time is up. After speaking, a member of the body may ask you a question. If you need to share documentation with the commission, please send it to the email listed in today's agenda. Chair, the floor is yours.
Was not on the formal Plan Commission agenda for tonight. Planner Furco, do we have any registrants for item 1?
There are no registrants for agenda item 1.
Okay. Then we'll move to disclosures and recusals. Members of the Plan Commission should make any required disclosures or recusals under the city's ethics code. Does anyone have any disclosures or recusals related to tonight's agenda? Thank you. Now we will move on to minutes for our April 13th, 2026 regular meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to the draft minutes? Seeing none, could I ask for a motion and a second to approve the April 13th minutes? Thanks, Alder Uguer, and thanks, Commissioner Solheim. Any discussion on the minutes? We'll call the vote. Is there any objection to unanimous approval for our last meeting's minutes? Commissioner Wisniewski, I think I can guess what you're going to say, but
I'm going to abstain.
Okay, great. Thank you. Noted. All right, we will just review our schedule of upcoming meetings. Our next meeting will be Monday, May 11th. At 5:30 p.m. virtually, and then we will have lots of meetings in June. We'll have meetings on June 1st, 15th, and 29th, all virtual at 5:30 at our usual time. And then we also have a special meeting on Thursday, June 11th at 5 p.m., and that will be in person in the Madison Municipal Building, room 215. So hopefully we'll get a chance to see. I know there's a couple of people who are traveling in and around there, but hopefully we'll get a chance to all see each other on the 11th, as it's nice to have time in person every once in a while. All right. We'll now move to the consent agenda. It's the custom of the Plan Commission to handle on a consent agenda those items on which staff members believe an application has been sufficiently reviewed to find the relevant standards met to support approval with all the listed conditions placed upon it by the various city departments, and where the application accepts all those conditions and there are no individuals who've registered to speak in opposition to the item. We also often will have a separate consent agenda for referral items, but we don't have any referral items tonight. So we'll have one consent agenda, and these are items recommended for approval. Those are before you on the screen. And on our agenda, the items recommended for consent are item 2, item 4, item 5, and items 10 and 11. And so I would ask the commissioners if there are any requests for separation for the items that are on the screen before you for approval. All right. Seeing no request for separation, I'm going to read into the record the consent items for approval, and we'll move those to a vote. So item 2 is Legistar 92344. This is amending various sections of Chapter 28 of the Madison General Ordinances to add the term fairground in quotes as an accessory use. The next item is item 4, which is Legistar 91293. This relates to 111 Walter Street in Alder District 15. This is consideration of a conditional use in their traditional residential varied 2 TRV2 district for a residential building complex containing 2 6-unit townhouse buildings with a shared storage building, parking, and open space. Next is agenda item 5, relating to 1010 Ann Street in Alder District 14. This is consideration of a conditional use in the Commercial Center CC District for a private parking facility in the Transit-Oriented Development TOD zoning overlay. And then item 10 is Legistar 92387, approving the second revised preliminary plat of Hill Valley on property generally addressed as 1050 South High Point Road, 1051 South Pleasant View Road, and 902 Landmark Trail in Alder District 1. And then agenda item 11 is Legistar 92388, approving the revised final plat of first addition to Hill Valley on land generally addressed as 1051 South Pleasant View Road and 1050 South High Point Road in Alder District 1. Great. I will open the public hearing and close the public hearing for the consent items, and we'll move to a vote. Is there a motion and a second to approve our consent agenda? Commissioner Heck, thank you. And Commissioner Solheim, thank you. Is there any objection to unanimous approval for our consent agenda? And seeing no raised hands, the consent agenda is passed. So that will take us back to our regular agenda items. And the next item for consideration is agenda item 3. This is Legistar 90803 relating to 7401 Mineral Point Road in Alder District 9. Consideration of a conditional use for a major alteration to a planned multi-use site with 40,000 square feet or more of floor area, of which 25,000 square feet or more is designed as retail, a hotel or motel, and consideration of a conditional use in the regional mixed-use RMX district and transit-oriented development TOD zoning overlay for a drive-through window for a restaurant. We will start with a brief presentation from planning staff, and I think we have Mr. Parks. Did we lose Tim?
Tim Parks is having a technical issue, so I will pinch hit and do an overview. And Tim will hopefully be back with us in a moment here.
Okay, thanks, Kevin.
So, well, good evening. Thank you, Chair, members of the Plan Commission. This item here, the applicant is seeking to construct a 2-story multi-tenant commercial building with a 2-lane drive-through within an existing parking lot at 7401 Mineral Point Road. The approval of a conditional use for a drive-through window is a conditional use in the RMX zoning district. And this also includes a major alteration to the conditional use for the entire planned multi-use site, which contains most of West Town Mall area. Just a little bit of background in terms of the ordinance here. The Common Council approved an amendment to the zoning code on December 9th, 2025 that required all drive-throughs in the transit overlay, development overlay to be on buildings that are at least 3 stories tall and that cover at least 60% of the lot area. However, prior to that being approved, this proposal was submitted on November 3rd, 2025, and must be considered under the code that was in place at the time of the application. The plans were revised on March 2nd, 2026, after discussion with staff and the original identified tenant who was raising canes is no longer part of the application team, but the ownership remains the same for this development. The applicant team has met with planning, zoning, traffic engineering, and UDC staff on several occasions to develop the site and the traffic layout, and staff notes that the revised proposal is supported by traffic engineering and was recommended for approval by the Urban Design Commission. For this request, staff has provided its focus analysis on standards 4 through 6 and 8. When considering the land use recommendations and specific additional recommendations of the comprehensive plan and the West Area Plan, the surrounding development context, the recommendation of the Urban Design Commission, and the recommended comments and conditions from reviewing agencies, staff believe that the Plan Commission can find all of the applicable conditional use standards can be met. So with that, staff will be available to answer questions after the public hearing. Thank you. Oh, Chair, I believe you're muted.
Thank you. We do have registrants for this item. Is that correct, Kevin?
Yes, okay. That's correct. I'm going to pivot to read those now.
Perfect. So we'll open the public hearing. Those registered wishing to speak will have 3 minutes to do so. And we'll interrupt with a brief warning to help you manage your time. Thanks.
Yep. And registered on this one, we have one speaker, and it's with the applicant team. It's Brad Koning, who is with the applicant team. We have one speaker in opposition not wishing to speak, but Brad Koning is our registered speaker for this item.
Thanks. Welcome, Brad.
Great. Thank you. Welcome.
Yep, Everett, we can hear you, and yeah, you're ready to go whenever.
Okay. I believe we have a slide deck. Not seen that quite yet.
Yep, well, Tim, are you able to share the slide deck, or would you?
No, it won't open for me on my machine.
Okay, Brad, if you can take let me.
I have the plans that were submitted that I can share, but for whatever reason, OneDrive won't open the presentation file that was sent earlier.
I'll just quickly, before we do that, let me just see if I can open up the presentation file on mine. I know it was, one second.
Looks like Lisa can share it, so
okay.
Lisa, please, if you would be able to, that'd be great.
Yep, you can see. Is that Brad? Is that what you were expecting?
Yeah, there should be like an overall map to start with, I believe, on the first page. Yeah, there we go.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Like I said, my name is Brad Cohn from Sketchworks Architects, and thank you for the opportunity to present this project for you guys to review. As Kevin mentioned, today we are seeking a conditional use for a drive-through in the RMX zoning to the proposed two-story multi-tenant commercial building, and that's located at 4701 Mineral Point Road. The project, as Kevin noted, is adjacent to the Westtown Mall area, and it does sit between Crunch Fitness to the west, which is former Shopco, and the Jason's Deli, which is directly adjacent to the east. Also is a former Bonefish Grill restaurant that is east of Jason's Deli there. And if you go to the next slide, there's some existing photos there. The top photo shows Jason's Deli, and then the large vacant parking lot where this building would then sit along Mineral Point Road. So the existing site is, like I said, it's largely vacant parking lot. It does front Mineral Point Road with access just to the west of that, in between what is Crunch Fitness and this lot. You kind of see from the bottom two photos there, that's the main entrance into this. There's also another entrance further down on the other side of what the former Bonefish Grill location. So next slide, please. The proposed is a two-story contemporary design. It has a strong street presence from Mineral Point Road along the first floor for its commercial tenants. And then the second story steps back a little bit, but that is for a potential third commercial use. The design draws from contemporary buildings nearby, including the Bonefish Grill and Jason's Deli, as we saw earlier in the slide, as well as Crunch Fitness. The stretch here along Mineral Point Road on the south side is a number of kind of contemporary looking architectural buildings. The materials have, you can go to the next slide. Materials are a mix of a dark masonry that identifies at the entries along with canopies, and then it has the wood look fiber cement siding that kind of brings the warmth of that in contrast to a stark white architectural panel.
30 seconds left.
Oh, sorry. Okay, we'll go to the site plan, 2 slides forward. The building is situated towards Mineral Point Road, part of the drive-through to the west there. And we did that to separate the pedestrian traffic. And so pedestrians can go from the site from Mineral Point Road around the building to the east. And then we are suggesting a connection to Jason's Deli, which doesn't exist at this moment, because there is about a 3 to 4 foot drop in grade between the parking lot of Jason's Deli and Mineral Point Road. So we're looking to include islands to break up the parking lot, obviously, and to give this nice pedestrian separation from the vehicular traffic. So,
Thanks, Brad.
yeah, absolutely.
Great. Kevin, are there other registrants?
The only other registrant we have is registered in opposition but not wishing to speak.
Okay,
It's
thank
included in
you.
the registration list.
All right. Are there questions from the commissioners for either of the registrants? All right, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing on this item and ask if there are questions for staff on this project. Alder Figueroa Cole.
Thank you. Kevin, can you explain the difference between the rules at the time of application versus the rules today?
The rules, yes, the significant change from the change in code was that now for a building to have a drive-through, it needs to be in a building that's a minimum of 3 stories. And so that it has to have a minimum 65% lot coverage. So essentially this proposal, the building as being 2 stories and a smaller footprint are the issues that this couldn't be built under the current regulations.
under the current regulation, if you had the height, would the drive-through be a problem?
I would have to run it by zoning, but you could still have a drive-through if it were a 3-story building, and it was at least 60% of the lot coverage. However, that's the standard if someone were to apply with that today. But based on the previous version, and just as far as background, one of the technical changes that happened between the first version and this version, when at the time of submittal, when this application was made, the requirement was that there had to be a minimum a second floor that took up 75% of the ground floor. And so the original submittal was not meeting that. This proposal does meet that. It's a bigger second floor. So it does meet the code that would be in place at the time of the application.
Thank you.
Commissioner Heck.
Thanks. Kevin, you can probably answer this. We had some public comment about the lighting that would accompany this development. And I'm assuming that there are no special considerations. They would just be required to follow Madison General Ordinance on the types of lighting that they could have, right?
Correct. There isn't a specific lighting condition above and beyond what code would recommend, but code does recommend or does require it has to be downcast light. It can't be. It has to be fully shielded and not towards the sky as part of the general ordinance requirements for lighting.
Great. Thank you, Kevin.
Other questions for staff? If not, maybe we're ready to make a motion on this item? Commissioner Solheim, thank you.
Thanks. I'll move. Oh, Kevin, do you need to speak first?
I'm just curious. I don't know if the alder indicated to me earlier that she may want to speak to this item. So I see the alder here. So I just wanted to make sure that we didn't miss a hand in case the alder wanted to speak on this one.
Thanks. Alder Pritchett, I think you're unmuted if you have comments to share, please.
Mixed-use standards and requirements have been satisfied, have been met. However, when I refer back to the opening words on the agenda, and it says, consider who benefits, who is burdened, and who does not have a voice at the table. But most importantly for me is that last statement which reads, how can policymakers mitigate unintended consequences? For me, all too often, that statement is considered or not incorporated, or it gets the smallest piece of the pie, especially when decisions are made. I tend to look at things holistically. And the question for me is, when one considers a project or developing a project, the question that remains for me is, do we think about or give any consideration to unintended consequences? I have lived in this district now since 1976. I know what the ebb and flow of traffic is like. That area has become increasingly more frightful, primarily because of the BRT. There's a station right at Westfield and Mineral Point Road. There is no traffic light, that would encourage traffic flow, which the next traffic light would be Randolph at Mineral Point, Randolph, D'Onofrio, and Mineral Point Road. I also know too that there are businesses back there. There's Barnes and Noble bookstore. At 6 o'clock in the morning, people are trying to go to a fitness, to go to Crunch. Once they finish, they want to leave. There's a cemetery across the street. Granted, they're not affected by it, only when there is a procession heading into the cemetery. There is also an urgent care, which is within 100 yards of the new proposed project. In there, you will find occasionally, because I too was affected by it, the traffic gets so heavy because of the traffic flow. I can't say whether or not traffic engineering can increase the flow or whatever. I can't say that. But I do know that there are times, because I was in an ambulance once and we couldn't get through because of the traffic. So I'm asking then, when we think about a project, we got to give a little bit more attention to how can policymakers really mitigate unintended consequences. Traffic in that area is heavy, and I do mean heavy. So I do, as I said before, I know all of the requirements and regulations have been satisfied, but I also know too that we have to, at some point in time, look at unintended consequences. Thank you.
Thanks, Alder Pritchett. Commissioner Solheim.
Thank you. I'll move that the Plan Commission find that the standards for conditional use are met, including standards 4, 5, 6, and 8, and approve the conditional use for a drive-through and alteration to a planned multi-use site at 7401 Mineral Point Road, subject to the conditions in the staff report, including the UDC conditions.
Second.
Alder Figueroa Cole, I heard your second.
Yep.
I will go with that. Usually we do that with the hand button. So
Oh, I'm sorry.
then it's easy for me to tell it's easier for me to tell who was first, but I definitely heard you before I saw anybody else's hand go up. So we're in.
Right.
It's,
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. All good. So we have a motion and a second. Is there discussion on this item? Commissioner Solheim, thanks.
I'll just note, I'm not going to, go to bat for drive-throughs, but it's pretty clear that this meets the standards of approval under the ordinance at the time of submission. I also can understand there are traffic concerns, but traffic lights are not really in our purview.
Thanks, Commissioner Solheim. Any other discussion? All right, we'll call a vote and we'll start with, is there objection to unanimous approval for this item? All right, seeing none, the item is approved. So thank you. Next we'll move to items 6 and 7, which are related and will be considered as one public hearing. And we'll do separate findings and motions on each item after the public hearing. Item 6 is Legistar 92236 relating to 1111 through 1135 Regent Street and 2 South Mills Street in Alder District 13. This is consideration of a conditional use in the traditional shopping street TSS district and transit-oriented development overlay district for dwelling units in a mixed-use building with greater than 60 units. Consideration of a conditional use in the TSS district and TOD overlay district for a building taller than 4 stories and 60 feet in height. Consideration of a conditional use in the TSS district and TOD overlay district for a mixed-use building with less than 50% of non-residential ground floor frontage facing the primary street, including all frontage at a street corner. And consideration of a conditional use in the TSS district to modify the required side yard height transition to a residential district, all to allow construction of a 6-story mixed-use building with 1,200 square feet of commercial space and 111 dwelling units. And then item 7 is Legistar 92238, approving a certified survey map of property owned by Peerless Development Company located at 1111 through 1135 Regent Street and 2 South Mill Street in Alder District 13. And I would just remind the commission that when we heard about these two items at our last meeting, we moved to refer, and we also moved to reopen the public hearing at tonight's hearing. And so we're now in our public hearing based on reopening the public hearing 2 weeks ago. So we will start, though, with a brief presentation from staff just to update us on where we are. Planner Ernst, welcome.
Thank you. So I'm going to provide an overview of the addendum to the April 13th staff report that was provided. So I'll just note that at the April 13th, 2026 meeting, the Plan Commission referred this project to today's meeting. And during the discussion of that motion, the Plan Commission advised the applicant to consider the following, which includes increasing the amount of commercial frontage along Regent Street, providing a step back along South Mill Street, and providing a side yard height transition along the south property line. So first, the amount of commercial frontage has increased from approximately 10.6% to 35.1%, which is consistent with the staff recommendation in the staff report. There is 119 feet of commercial frontage and about 3,100 square feet of commercial space. And that commercial space is located at the corner of Regent Street and South Charter and kind of extends that commercial space that was originally proposed. Regarding the step back along South Mill Street, the rooftop amenity deck on the 6th floor that was located at the corner with South Charter Street has been relocated to the corner of South Mill Street. The deck is L-shaped and wraps around the corner. And because of that kind of L shape, the step back varies from about 10.5 feet to 36.5 feet. And staff believe that this addresses the recommended condition of approval in the staff report as well. And then finally, regarding the side yard height transition, the applicant did not update the plans to provide the transition along the south property line. And staff will just note again that this would be the largest intrusion into the required height transition area that Plan Commission has approved, and that staff recommend that Plan Commission carefully consider the information in the original staff report and the updated information that was provided as it relates to questions raised during their previous discussion of this item. And there are no changes to conditions and comments in that April 13th staff report recommended at this time. Thanks.
Thanks, Berners. We do have registrants for this item, so we'll open the public hearing. And Baron Furco, if you could walk us through the registrant list.
Yes, we have 3 speakers who I believe will be pooling their time. We have Joseph Patrick, Matthew Tills, and Ryan Cohen are our 3 speakers. We have Kevin Burrow, who's available to answer question in support. And and Ryan Cohen was originally available to answer questions, but he's also now in the speaking queue.
Thanks.
We have, those are the speakers for this one.
Okay. Great. So Matt, I see that you're unmuted. I don't know if you want to go first with the team.
Sure. Thank you. I'll just wait for the presentation here. My name is Matt Tills. I'm with Knothy and Bruce Architects. I am joined by Joe Patrick and Ryan, as was mentioned there, both from the Peerless Development Group, available to answer questions and contribute here as well. Just wanted to, first of all, just say thank you to the Plan Commission and to Alder Evers for their comments at the last meeting here and for the opportunity for us to come back and with some modifications. We feel confident that the changes that we've put together here hopefully will address the concerns and that we can then, I guess, further kind of explain that height transition on the side yard as well. So next slide, please. Overall site locator map. I'm going to zip through a couple of these slides. Next slide, please. Existing site plan. Next slide. Here's the updated site plan. Really, the notable feature on this is what's occurring on the northwest corner there. So you can see the additional commercial space there. We've ended up basically raising up the first floor of what was the corner element that was coming all the way down to grade, and creating a sort of a walkway colonnade that allowed us to have more contiguous, I guess, access to that commercial space, which you'll see in some of these upcoming slides. Next slide, please. Floor plans, which we can certainly come back to and speak to if there are further questions. Next slide. So these are the principal project statistics that have changed in this revised proposal. So from the unit count previously at 111 units, with that additional commercial space, we're now at 108 units. That commercial space increased from 1,200 to 3,124 square feet, and as the planner Ernest mentioned there too, the increased frontage went to 35%, which was kind of the target number that really became kind of the recommended length there in the last meeting. Next slide, please. Just a couple of indications here. What you see on the right side is that commercial. This was the original layout with that 11% commercial space. Next slide. And here you can see as it increased fairly significantly. We have a fairly balanced, I feel, a kind of bookending of the two sides of this project now, with the pure commercial on the right and the active amenity space on the left. Next slide, please. Here's an updated view of that corner. You can see that more activated commercial space along the corner of Regent Street. Next slide. Getting a little closer, great opportunity here for some outdoor seating and activation of that area. This is that. It's just as a reminder, it's raised 24 inches up above the sidewalk due to some flood protection requirements. Next slide. Just a view kind of at that main entrance here. You can see that colonnade and kind of how the relationship between the spaces is. Next slide. And the last view here of that commercial space, looking at it from a little bit further down the block. So all in all, we feel like this is has a very viable and sort of a really nice sort of setback off the street, but still remaining that really engaged commercial presence that really, I think, is what Regent Street is calling for. So next slide. So the second item was the step back along Mill Street. These are two just different views. On the left was the previous submittal. On the right is the modification here. And in conversation with planner Ernest and as we looked at the plan there, we felt that this was a really reasonable proposal here. Kind of activates this corner, steps that down, and satisfies the intent of that step back. Next slide, please. Here you can see along the whole street frontage, the Regent Street side, and you can see that we've now basically kind of mirrored that feature from which was on the right side there on the Charter Street side over to the Mills. Next slide. And one more sort of view of that. And kind of moving back around here, you can see as we kind of come back and look at the south facade of the building. Next slide, please. So that takes us to the third item that was the discussion. Here, we did carefully consider, and really looked back at this condition here, based on the information that we heard from the Plan Commission. We did ultimately feel that we could stand by the original intent here of our request for this conditional use waiver here. And really, this really highlights to the challenge that we have with the site. The narrowness of the site, the required step backs off of the Regent Street side really do create a very challenging environment to really comply with that height transition here. And you can kind of see what that hardship would be if you were to comply with it. It's really more like a 3-story building would be kind of what you would max out at. So that is one of the conditions that we'd like you to consider here. And the next slide, please. The second being the positioning of this building to the north of what would be the affected or that adjacent residential neighborhood. So really what this shows too, which I think is notable, is that at no time through the year would the properties that are to the south of this be subjected to any sort of a shadow casting from this project. Next slide, please. And then finally, what I think is really important here too is the consideration on just the design and the layout of the materials, and kind of the consideration for that. Knowing that that we had a fairly high massing here, we really did carefully look at a strong, heavier base, and then the further articulation as it kind of moved up, and then creating some of the sort of stepping of the materials, really giving sort of more of that allusion to, and that sort of stepping back and that reduction of that massing with that light sort of siding along the top there. Next slide, please. You can see views of this from that adjacent street. So this would be from the Bound Court side, looking back toward the building. Next slide. One more from that street side perspective. And then a final view here. And next slide. We did put in a couple of extra views here just for reference as well. This would be the main entrance coming off of Mill Street side. Next slide. And then just a view of the sort of activation and sort of the pedestrian experience along Regent Street. This is kind of further up, and what you're seeing onto the left there would be some outdoor seating area as an amenity space for the residents there, but it would be an activated space. And then as you move down further along, you'd have that commercial space that would really bookend that. And then finally, just brought back a couple of these other slides here, just in case they wanted to be spoken to. The Juliet balcony precedent in the next slide. Material board. Thank you. And next slide. And that finishes our presentation. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Matt. All right. Kevin, those are all the registrants wishing to speak. Is that true?
Yes, that's. I just looked again, and that's all the people registered to speak for this item.
Great. So this would be time in our public hearing for questions for the registrants, and Alder Evers, if you can do that, or if you want to share other comments, that's fine too. Or if you want to appear as a registrant, that's fine too. So welcome.
Well, thank you. And I have another meeting I need to get to. So if you could bear with me just briefly to say that I'm pleased that the applicant here went along with the staff recommendation and the recommended compromise of 35%. I'm also very pleased, by the way, that all of you agreed to that and held the line and referred the item back to this meeting. And I encourage you then to approve this project as is. I will say I'm not particularly worried about the setbacks, on the rear setbacks. It's my belief that over time, and we'll get into this more in the near west area plan, that the homes along the northern side of Bowen Court, they're not in great shape. These are all rental properties that are rather dilapidated and run down. I anticipate over time, they will give way to, say, 3-story row houses. And I think the impact of this development against that height and that massing will not be severe. At any rate, rather than speaking to that specifically, I do want to encourage you to, once we ask a developer to accommodate a shared value in our city, and they agree to do so, I believe that that's a good reason to approve the project. And accordingly, I ask that you would say yes, good job, and approve it. Thank you.
Thanks, Alder Evers. Any other questions from the commission for our registrants tonight? Commissioner Heck.
Thanks. This is for Matt Tills. Matt, can you just give a little more detail about the activation along Regent? And one of the reasons I'm asking is because when this project was shown at the previous iteration was shown at the Joint Campus Area Committee, there were some questions about whether or not folks would be able to access some of the amenity space outside via the sidewalks. And I think at that time, several of the areas were just going to be landscaping, I think, with fencing so that people wouldn't be accessing those open areas. Can you just kind of describe again where I see there's a new amenity space, maybe in front of the fitness facilities? And is there still some that would be landscaped?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you want to, if it's possible, bring the slides back up there. I think we can jump to one of those last, probably the second to the last slide that was a rendering there.
Thanks, Lisa.
And I guess a quick answer to that too is the functionality and the use of these spaces here has been kind of shifting a little bit, or was initially as we were kind of going through and programming the space and kind of looking at the how this space would be used. Also working with our civil engineer and kind of on structural and how these potentially could or could not be accessed. And where we've landed here too is that what you're seeing here now, which is the sort of the closest to the Mill Street side, it also is stepped back up. So there's a 2-foot height difference there. There is landscaping all the way. So there's basically a 4-foot wide bed of landscaping that is running kind of right behind that fence that you see there. So that sort of landscape buffer would remain, and that really just sort of continue all the way down along, that we've really wanted to keep that landscaping piece. And so in this case, you see here, this would actually be accessed. The one that's in the center, the smallest one, which is just a little further down the street here. We don't have a good view, I guess, of that. That would be the only one that right now is not anticipated to be occupied. So we would still have the landscape screening as part of that. There would be basically pavers in there, but it would not be occupied at all. And then when you go all the way down to the new commercial space, that is all occupied space there. And just because of the sort of access and the pedestrian access that we needed along there, the actual landscaping portion of that is going to be a little bit more limited. So we still have pockets of landscaping, but it's not as contiguous as you see kind of right here in this view.
Thanks, Matt. And then this area on the corner of Charter is accessed either from the corner or from the interior of the amenity space and not from the street. Is that correct?
Correct. Yep. This one that you're looking at right now, which is the Mill Street side, is accessed from basically the lobby space on the inside. And so just to be clear, this area here is anticipated to be an amenity space for the tenants. So there would not be a gate or access directly off of that. You'd access it from interior of the space. Yeah, that makes sense. And I'm sure you remember there were some questions about direct access from the street at Joint Campus Area Committee. So thanks. I appreciate the work on that. Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Commissioner Heck. Other questions for registrants? Are we ready to, if not, we're ready to close the public hearing. So I will close the public hearing and ask if there are questions from the commissioners for staff, for the planning staff. Commissioner Heck.
Thank you. This may be for Kevin or Lisa. I'm not sure. I'm interested in precedents regarding the large, backside of the building for which we'd be potentially determining as an exception to our our typical requirements. I guess I want to know, do you feel that every project is unique and we need to consider the context and all, and it isn't necessarily a precedent?
Oh. Kevin, do you want to go?
No, go ahead, Lisa. I was waiting for you to go. You go first.
No, yeah. I mean, I think that in general, yeah, we do feel like every project is unique because every site is going to have like its own context and features, and every building will be different. So I think we do often refer to like other projects to create some context for like understanding like what are they asking for. But, you know, ultimately it's the conditional use standard that kind of outlines like what the plan commission should be considering, like the shadow, the architecture, how it relates to the street. And so those are the kinds of things that become kind of project specific and unique to the project. So I think in general, yeah, they're all different. But Kevin, I don't know if you have something to add to that.
I was just going to note that as far as in the original staff report, there was a summary table that summarized some of the recent ones where the Plan Commission granted some level of exception, this being the largest of the ones that we had found. But certainly the Plan Commission has granted exceptions in other cases. But as a conditional use, if it was an outright prohibition, it would just be written into the code and there wouldn't be the allowance as a conditional use for the Plan Commission to consider something.
Okay, thanks. That was helpful.
There are no other questions. It might be time to form a motion. There's a lot of conditional uses on item 6, so it's going to be quite a motion. Alder Gare, thanks.
Thank you, Chair. Let me try to do this. So I'll move that we find the approval standards, particularly standards 3, 4, and 8, are satisfied with these latest changes. And we approve the following conditional use requests in the traditional shopping street TSS district and transit-oriented development overlay district. To wit, a conditional use for dwelling units in a mixed-use building with greater than 60 units, a conditional use for a mixed-use building with less than 50%, to wit 35%, of non-residential ground floor footage facing the primary street, which is Regent Street, including all frontage at a street corner, a conditional use for a building taller than 4 stories and 60 feet in height, and a conditional use to modify the required side yard height transition to a residential district, all subject to the conditions in the updated staff report and the original staff report.
Thanks, Alder Gare. Is there a second? Thanks, Commissioner Solheim. Any discussion? Alder Gare, thanks.
I'll just say that I was very doubtful about this project at the last meeting, in particular, whether the developer would be able to turn around and by the next meeting. But I had a chance to discuss this at great length with Alder Evers last Friday and found that I could be comfortable provided we saw something come back with this 35% rather than 10% adjustment on Regent Street, and urge our approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Solheim.
Thank you. Going back to Commissioner Heck's prior question about precedent, I just want to add a few comments for reference for when this inevitably shows up as a project and a future staff report to remember. I think I'm comfortable with the rear of the building for a couple reasons. One, the front of elevation has a lot of modulation in it. It's not just a flat building, and it has that significant step back as required by Regent Street. It is a shallow lot, which creates some challenges, as was described by the applicant team. the presence of commercial space, a meaningful commercial space on the ground floor. And then lastly, the lack of shadow impacts on the rear users are all sort of components of this design that I think makes a good case for the exception to that policy.
Thanks, Commissioner Solheim. Commissioner Heck.
Thanks. Just adding one brief thought to Commissioner Solheim's rationale about the transition exception. I guess I'd also add that the design of the building in the rear is a factor in that. For me, the change of colors and materials, I think, is a reasonable visual approach to providing an exception for that. Thanks.
Thanks, Commissioner Wright. Commissioner Sanders.
I'll get a hand on the ball too and just add one more piece to the comments from Commissioner Solheim and Commissioner Heck, but also just understanding the comprehensive plan recommendations for the surrounding area that would recommend up to 8 stories also gives me some comfort in approving this height exception here.
No, those are good points. Other comments? We'll call a vote. We'll start as usual. Is there objection to unanimous approval for this item? All right. I'm sorry. For item 6, based on Alder Ugare's motion. All right. So item 6, the conditional use, the conditional uses are approved. And now I'm looking for a motion on item 7, which is the CSM. Alder Ugare, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to move that the Plan Commission finds that the approval standards for a certified survey map are met and that we forward the certified survey map for 1111 to 1135 Regent Street and 2 South Mill Street to the Common Council with the recommendation of approval.
Alder Figueroa Cole, thank you for the second. Any discussion on the motion for to recommend approval for the CSM, certified survey map? Great. Alder Figueroa Cole, I think that's a residual hand up. Thank you. If there's no discussion, no additional discussion, I will call the vote. Is there objection to unanimous approval for the motion on item 7? Great. Item 7 is approved. And we'll now move to items 8 and 9, which are related and will be considered as one public hearing with separate findings and motions on each item. Item 8 is Legistar 92348, creating section 28.022-00750 of the Madison General Ordinances to change the zoning of property located at 822 Pulley Drive from SRC1, Suburban Residential Consistent 1 District, to SRC2, Suburban Residential Consistent 2 District. This is in Alder District 3. And then item 9 is Legistar 92239, approving a certified survey map of property owned by Worth Company, LLC, located at 822 Pulley Drive in Alder District 3. We would start with a brief staff presentation. C. Planner Parks.
Yes, thank you, Chair, members of the Plan Commission. 822 Pulley Drive. The applicant is requesting to rezone the 15,150 square foot parcel into 2 lots in SRC2 zoning. The site is currently occupied by a 1-story single-family home located on the northern roughly half of the property. The surrounding context are single-family homes, with the exception of Sycamore Park, which is located north of the site across Nakusa Trail. The applicant proposes to place the single-family home on an 8,255 square foot lot, with the remaining 6,895 square feet of the property to comprise lot 2, on which a new home can be built. The applicant is seeking SRC2 zoning for the site which has a 50-foot minimum lot width requirement. The current SRC1 zoning has a 55-foot lot width requirement. The SRC2 district only requires 5,000 square feet of lot area versus the 6,000 in SRC1 zoning, although staff will note that both proposed lots shown on the certified survey map would comply with the existing zoning district's lot area requirements. The purpose, in other words, for the SRC2 zoning is to seek relief from the lot width requirement, which in this case will be measured along Pulley Drive. The site is recommended for low residential in the Northeast Area Plan. Both the current SRC1 zoning and proposed SRC2 zoning are consistent with low residential, which is a low density land use category with density up to 15 units an acre, predominantly comprised of single and two family structures, although smaller 2, 3, and 4 unit apartments may be compatible in certain circumstances. In this case, the SRC1 and SRC2 districts are both districts that allow single and two family dwellings. They have the same bulk requirements, so your front, side, and rear yard setbacks, as well as lot coverage. The main difference being the 5 foot difference in lot width and the 1,000 square feet of lot area. Again, looking in this case to divide the property into 2 roughly rectangular lots. Early in the conversations with the applicant, they proposed to divide the lot in a way that would provide the 55-foot lot width required in the existing zoning. However, it created a side lot line that was not at right angles to the front street lot line as required by the subdivision regulations. And so the SRC2 zoning allows for 2 roughly rectangular lots to be created from the existing roughly rectangular lot that comprises the site now. Staff believes that the Plan Commission may find that the rezoning and proposed land division can meet the applicable standards for approval. As noted, the proposed SRC2 zoning is consistent with the low residential recommendation for the site and surrounding properties. And while the SRC2 zoning would be somewhat of an outlier on the zoning map, given how the other parcels nearby are zoned, staff feels that the land division and resulting infill development of the property can be found compatible with the existing neighborhood scale as recommended in LR areas. That concludes the staff report, and I'm happy to answer any questions after the public hearing. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. We have registrants for this item, so I'll open the public hearing and ask Jennifer Cal to lead us through the list. Thanks.
Yes, for this item, for items 8 and 9, we have only one registered speaker, and that is in opposition. That's Deborah Dewald, registered on item 8 in opposition. The applicant, Gregory Worth, is recommended in support, available to answer questions. And we have Peter C. Buckner in opposition, available to answer question, along with other speakers who are registered in opposition but not wishing to speak, whose names will be on the registration report. So our first speaker, or the only registered speaker at this time, is Deborah Dewald for this item.
Chair, there's no person by that name in attendance.
Yeah. I don't see her on the attendees list either. Maybe we'll go ahead and ask the commissioners if you have questions for any of the registrants, if anyone has questions on this item, and give her maybe a quick minute to jump back in. Otherwise, I would just note that there was written public comment in the Legistar item for this project as well. So I think maybe we understand some of the issues. Alder Field, thank you.
Yep, thank you, Chair. Hopefully this gives some time for Deborah to hop on if she wants, but I had a question for Greg, Mr. Worth. Greg, thanks for joining us tonight. I'm wondering if you can tell us a little more about the future appearance of whatever your plans are for the subdivided new lot to the south. What are you planning on doing with that? Can you share?
Yeah. So the new lot that would be created from this, I'm just planning on building a kind of a small conforming home there that kind of looks like all the other small conforming homes in the neighborhood. Yeah.
So does that mean you're generally making any design decisions based on how the other homes look, or are you trying to do anything that stands out?
No, it'll be a fairly standard house, and I haven't hired an architect or anything like that. But I kind of look up and down the street and put a virtual measuring tape on a few houses on the street, and they all would actually fit perfectly on this lot, meeting setbacks. So it's kind of the house that I would put here would, at the end of the day, almost have to look similar to a lot of the other houses on the block. It would be a little narrower because most people have a garage on the side of their single family home, but I think I'd have to incorporate it into the facade of my house. But again, it would all be conforming and yeah.
Sure. And I can understand that you haven't hired an architect until at this point in the project, not knowing if you have approval. That was my last question. Thank you.
Hey.
Thanks,
Thank you, Chair.
I still don't see our registrant. The public hearing will remain open until you guys tell me you don't have any more questions for the registrants. So does anyone have any more questions for the registrants? All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing at this time, and I'll ask if the commission have questions for the staff on these two items. Or if we're ready to move toward a motion. Alderfield, thanks.
Thank you, Chair. Perhaps just a quick question. Tim, thank you for the great memo. A lot of good info. You mentioned already and then described in here the consistency of the requested zoning district with low medium residential as laid out in the Northeast Area Plan. I'm wondering if you could describe for us what scale of housing types, either building forms or density per acre, whatever makes more sense to you, you would expect to see in a typical low medium residential recommendation area. What types of density or forms are consistent?
This area, just to clarify, is recommended for low residential. There is low medium residential further south on Pulley Drive at Commercial Avenue, but low residential, the text in the 2023 comprehensive plan really kind of speaks to house-like structures, single and two-family homes primarily. The density maximum in LR would generally be up to 15 units an acre. Typically, that's hard to achieve in single and two-family homes only. The category does allow, in limited circumstances, for there to be 3 and 4 unit structures as well. But really, both the SRC1 zoning that's there now and the SRC2 zoning, they have more in common than they have differences. The big differences being 5 more feet of lot width in SRC1 and 1,000 square feet of additional lot area. But, if you're, back of the napkin, you're not getting, if you did 5,000 square foot lots in SRC2, the maximum that you would get out of a net acre would be 8. And so, and that number drops to 7 with SRC1 zoning. So you're going to get basically the same mass because your lot coverage is going to be about the same in those districts. But one is just requiring a bigger lot to start with by a, relatively small margin. Recalling for many of the members of the Plan Commission who were on the body last year that one of the changes that was made to the zoning code in 2025 was reducing the lot areas and lot width that was required in a lot of our zoning classifications, including both SRC1 and SRC2.
Thank you. I didn't have other questions.
Alder Figueroa Cole.
Thank you. Tim, just to clarify for the request that we have in front of us, which is the CSM and zoning changes, does the applicant need to know do we need to know, or the applicant needs to be ready to present what the land use will be for us to support these or deny this request?
No, if I understand the question correctly, if the rezoning is approved and the certified survey map is approved, the applicant will be required to meet the conditions of approval that are outlined in the staff report, as well as any other conditions that the Plan Commission may wish to recommend on the certified survey map. And once the certified survey map is recorded, then the property owner, whomever it is, would then go to get building permits. They would be allowed by right to do a single or two-family home, and they would have to meet the front, side, and rear yard setbacks and maximum lot coverage required in the SRC2 zoning district.
Thank you. So as long as the applicant follows the new zoning code regulation, they will need additional conditional uses. They will just build like anybody else, as long as they follow the code.
Right. We don't anticipate there being a conditional use request, and nor an interesting turn of events. They're rezoning the property to SRC2. They're proposing to divide the property. They have basically foreclosed many avenues they would be able to ask for a zoning variance because there is effectively no hardship here. Not wanting to speak for the Zoning Board of Appeals or my colleagues in the zoning section, but this is the rectangle within which they can build their home, and they'll be expected to comply with the SRC2 zoning in terms of use and bulk.
Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner Heck.
Thank you. Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, but wouldn't probably most of the lots, other than these two, if they are created, have sufficient space to build an accessory dwelling unit? And wouldn't that be a permitted use?
If they meet the bulk requirements for an ADU. And likewise, now that we don't have an exclusive single-family residential district in the conventional code, any one of the homes on any one of the lots, really anywhere that's zoned SRC1 or SRC2, could convert their home into a two-family dwelling by right, provided that they comply with the bulk requirements in that zoning district or those zoning districts. Yeah.
Thanks. That was what I was looking for. Thanks.
Thanks, Commissioner Heck. Kevin.
Chair, just wanted to know that I believe the speaker has joined via phone. That's
great.
Deborah Dewald. I believe the public hearing was closed. You'd have to reopen that to take that test.
Is there any objection to reopening our public hearing? Seeing none, we'll reopen the public hearing so we can hear from our registrant. Thank you. Jesse, do we know how to help Deborah unmute?
Oh, we've got another Deborah. Let's try this.
Oh, it looks like you might be unmuted now, Deborah.
Deborah, you should have on phone, you should have a prompt to unmute. I saw another one. Yeah, you're unmuted on the other account that's logged in as well. So you should be able to speak. But we are not hearing you. So if you have a headset or something like that that has mute activated, you want to look for either a mute button or an unmute prompt.
Still not hearing. What's that? How do you unmute the phone? Jesse, is there a pound something that you I don't remember?
Is that *6?
Oh, maybe it might work.
I believe that's correct. I'm going to send you a couple more prompts to unmute. Again, on the phone, if you press *6, that should unmute you.
It looks like on the computer account you may be unmuted if you want to try your microphone.
Yeah, again, Deborah, you are unmuted on our end. You may have a physical button or a button on screen. Just need to mute your microphone or your device that you're using. Looks like there's some troubleshooting going on because the microphone just disappeared. So. I see your microphone is once again active, Deborah. If you want to give it a try again. You are unmuted on our end. Yeah, the only additional advice I could give is that if you exited the meeting and rejoined, sometimes that helps. We still can't hear you. It looks like you did exit and come back. But you are unmuted, and once again, we cannot hear you. So if you don't have a physical mute button or something to that to check for, we cannot hear you.
Yeah, it's still not coming through. Deborah, I think maybe if we can't get you on in the next minute or so, we may need to return to the commission discussion. And yeah. Jesse, is there any other way to get in touch with her that you can think of?
No, I don't think that there's a whole lot of options other than that.
Okay. Deborah, you are unmuted on our end, so it's still, there's still an opportunity to come through. So the only other item on our agenda besides this one is our secretary's report. I don't know if we want to maybe pause this. I'm not even sure. I don't know that Roberts has a way to pause an item and then go to the other items and try to come back to it. But I think at this point, the best option. Oh, yeah. Planner Parks, thanks.
Yeah, just briefly, someone with the same last name provided written comments earlier today. Certainly may not be the exact same person. Deborah may have different opinions about the request than Mike does, but I just thought I would point that out for the Plan Commission, given the technical issues we seem to be experiencing hearing from Deborah.
Thanks, Tim. That's helpful.
And I'll just note that the comment is attached to both the rezoning and land division files in Legistar if members wanted to review them now that the share has been stopped.
Yeah, thank you. I think given the opportunity to log in. Oh, Kevin, do you want to help us out?
I don't have a technical solution here. I guess, Chair, to your question a minute ago, Plan Commission could table this item, move to the Secretary's report, or go into recess for a couple of minutes. I guess would be the only other options from a procedural standpoint if we wanted to see if we could sort out the technical issue here and give a little bit more time.
Yeah, well, maybe if I could have a motion and a second to table this item for 5 minutes, and we'll do the rest of our business for the meeting, and then come back to it with the hearing still open and see if we can get Deborah's testimony that way. I don't know if Alder Field or one of the staff could email her and let her know that's what we're going to do. Alder Field, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I got a text from someone else in the neighborhood who's following the meeting. I'm wondering if I can get in touch with Deborah by phone, if it would be okay for me to share her voice through my phone.
Yeah.
For those 3 minutes. In 5 minutes, though. I need to confirm this
okay.
will work. Thank you.
We could also just recess for 5 minutes. Why don't we just do that, and then we don't have to, play musical chairs, if that's all right. Could I see a motion? Do I need a motion to recess, Kevin? Okay, if I could get a motion and a second for a 5-minute recess.
I'll move a 5-minute recess.
Thanks, Alder Field. Thanks, Commissioner Heck. We'll take a break and we'll come back. Let's come back at 7:02. Alderfield, success? All right. Get everybody back. Kevin, should we have a motion to reconvene?
We should. And I think Alderfield might have been saying that he was muted. I think he might have been.
Oh, starting that process? Yeah. All right, it is 7:02, so I think we could reconvene if I could get a motion and a second. Thanks, Commissioner Sanders. Thanks, Commissioner Heck. We have our quorum back, and I think we'll have a full roster momentarily. Any objection to resuming the public hearing on items 8 and 9? Seeing none, we'll resume the public hearing at this time. And I think Alderfield was gonna, well, I see Deborah's phone is connected, but I think, Alderfield, you're muted now.
All right, Deborah, go ahead whenever you're ready.
Great.
My name is Deb Dewald, and I live in 22 Pulley Drive. And I have, am totally in agreement with all my neighbors who are opposed to this zoning variant at 822 Pulley Drive. This is a neighborhood of homes that are owned by homeowners. It's not a rental neighborhood. This home next door was purchased by an LLC. And in addition, it's really a heartbreaking situation because as I understand it, this home was sold because of medical debt of the family that had lived there already for generations. The family that lived there, the parents of that woman raised their family there. She inherited that house, or they gave it to her because her parents were still alive and visiting when they were living there and raising their 2 children. And unfortunately, he developed medical issues and her husband passed away. And one of their children was vulnerable. And when she passed away in January, the house was sold, even though a vulnerable individual was still dwelling there and was summarily dumped at a homeless shelter. To my knowledge, has not been allowed entry to that home, even to gather his belongings of a lifetime. We moved into our home in 1995, and this family lived next door, so this person is the ages of our own children. And so it just breaks my heart. I just think that there's in addition to all the other reasons, valid reasons, I just feel like what has happened to us when a vulnerable individual is summarily just dumped out on the street from the home that he lived in since birth. That really bothers me. And so I can't really add anything to the much more articulate arguments that others have made against this zoning variance. But I really feel in my soul that there's been harm done to a vulnerable individual through this whole transaction. And it just makes me feel opposed to anything. Our world, it's just too many people who care more about money than humanity or compassion. So that's what I have to say. And you can think I'm a crackpot, but that's just how I feel about the whole thing.
Let's see if anyone has a question, Deb.
Yeah. Thanks, Deborah. Are there questions for Deborah from the commission?
Deborah has hung up, so I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're done. But thanks, Deborah.
Yeah. Thanks to Alderfield for facilitating that. I'm glad we were able to hear from her and get that perspective. I will reclose the public hearing, and I'm not sure that we wrapped up all the questions for staff. There is still time for questions for staff if folks have any, or if not, maybe we're ready to move to a motion on item 8, which is the recommended rezoning. Commissioner Heck. Thanks.
Thanks. I'll move that. Let's make sure I've got the right. We've got to first change do number 8, the zoning, right? Yes.
Correct.
I'll move that the Plan Commission recommend the zoning change at 822 Pulley Drive from SRC1 to SRC2, and that all standards are met to proceed with that rezoning, subject to any comments and conditions in the staff report.
And that goes to council, Kevin, right? Yeah. So that's a recommendation to council. Thanks, Commissioner Heck. Commissioner Wisniewski is a second. Thanks. Any discussion? Go ahead, Commissioner Heck.
Thanks. I'll just addressed some of the public comment that we had, including Deborah's heartfelt comment about her former neighbor. I appreciate her concern, but that's really a sale between two entities that the city does not really get involved with. And, it sounds like one of the results was unfortunate, and I feel for you. As for the other aspects of the public comment, as I mentioned in questioning, any of your neighbors could either rent their house out tomorrow or build an accessory dwelling unit on their property, inviting more neighbors to enjoy your beautiful neighborhood. So I really think not that that's necessarily going to happen, but it could. And this is really not a huge problem in my mind, and because the standards are met for a rezoning, I hope it moves forward. Thanks.
Thanks, Commissioner Heck. Alderfield.
Thank you, Chair. I also want to thank Deborah for sharing that perspective. It sounds like a pretty tragic set of circumstances that led to the property sale, and now we're considering a land use approval request after that transaction. So unfortunately, that's not really something that we can consider as part of this process, where we have a new owner in this case, with a request that we're reviewing under our standards and ordinances. I wanted to acknowledge the additional public comments that came in from neighbors of the site that Deborah described as well, coming from folks who don't like the idea of houses closer together or smaller lots in this part of their neighborhood. I walked through there over the weekend, and I can see what they mean by pointing out that these homes would noticeably be closer together than what we see there today and other homes nearby. So I think it's fair to characterize those as a perception of crowding by this proposal. But I want to compare those concerns to, given that they are about a house scale structure, so not necessarily something that's going to be much bigger, I don't think that the concerns overall outweigh the opportunity that a brand new house here could offer to another family or two who could move into this great neighborhood. This house is really close to Sycamore Park, where this neighborhood association recently organized to secure a neighborhood grant. They plan to install a welcoming wayside area to bring more people to Sycamore Park and enjoy that beautiful space. And this is where the city has also expanded the single-track bike course recently in a corner of Sycamore Park there, to support more park users. And this is the corner of the city where we recently expanded the Autumn Ridge path and bridge over a highway to reconnect this neighborhood to another nearby and to the network of paths throughout the city. I know that in the future, the path is planned to expand further north along some route to be determined. which is exciting. But I think that that means this area is an opportunity and a great place for people to live, and that hosting a few more families here presents a benefit to the community as a whole. I want to acknowledge that most proposals we see for adding infill housing in existing neighborhoods in Madison, they tend to be for quite a bit larger of buildings with more units, where I think we begin to see more of those consequences, the crowding impacts like parking, et cetera. But I just don't see from adding a structure or a lot division for a pretty small lot in low residential zoning, I don't see those concerns stacking up to that level that we see happening elsewhere, where we need to add more conditions to account for those or be a little more worried. So I feel that taken all together and on balance across these, I find that the proposal is consistent with the city's goals and with the Northeast Area Plan, and I plan to vote for the motion. Thanks, everybody, and thanks for the extra steps we took to hear from one of my constituents.
Thanks, Alderfield. There's no other discussion. I'll call the vote on this item. Is there any objection to unanimous approval for Alder Heck's motion? Seeing none, item 8 is approved, and I would be looking for a motion on item 9, which is the updated certified survey map. Commissioner Heck.
I can do that too. I would move that Plan Commission recommend approval of the certified survey map for the property at 822 Pulley Drive, and that all conditions of approval are met, subject to any comments and conditions in the staff report.
Alder Uguerre, thanks for the second. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, any objection to unanimous approval for Commissioner Heck's motion? All right, that item is also approved. And we would move to the part of our agenda for member announcements, communications, and business items. If anyone has any of those to share. Seeing none, then we'll move to the secretary's go ahead, Commissioner Wisniewski.
Just to share that next Sunday begins Madison Housing Week, a week-long session of in-person and virtual events. So you can find it at madisonhousingweek.com.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah. All right, Kevin, I think you're up for the secretary's report.
Sure. Thank you, Chair. I'll do a quick version. The items in the Secretary's report are the ones that are noted on the agenda, which notes some approvals of items that the Plan Commission recommended approval of and were later approved by the Common Council at their last meeting in April. And then just highlight a couple of upcoming matters for your next two meetings. Your next meeting following tonight is May 11th. A few items on there. It includes revised approval of senior housing development out in Grandview Commons on Halley Way. That was one that the Plan Commission's approved a couple of times, and there's some revisions. That's back before the Plan Commission. Also, there is scheduled an item that's been in referral for several items. That's at the corner of Pennsylvania and East Johnson. It's a large residential development. The Plan Commission is actually only seeing the outdoor recreation component of that development. And so that is scheduled for your next meeting. It's been referred several times. A few other items for that meeting as well. I did want to note for June 1st, it is the election of chair and vice chair. That's tentatively scheduled for the first meeting in June, so June 1st. And also tentatively scheduled to be Plan Commission appointments to the Joint Campus Area Committee on that night. At this point, one larger residential development at Roth and Huxley Street. There's a rezoning and a conditional use for a residential building complex for a 2-building development with approximately 163 units. And so that's among the items that you'll be considering on June 1st. Chair, that's what I have for this evening's second.
Thanks, Kevin. Any questions for Kevin? Seeing none, is there a motion and a second to adjourn? Alder Field, Commissioner Heck, thank you. Any objection to unanimous approval for adjourning? All right, we will stand adjourned and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.